Everyone, today we're going to be going over APA Citation Basics, and we'll be looking at APA citations in the 7th edition, which is the edition that was most recently published this past October. For every source you have, you're going to need two types of citation. You'll need an in-text citation, which occurs in the middle of your writing, and you'll need a reference list citation, which occurs at the end of your work. So let's get started with in-text citations. For general citations in in-text, you're going to need the author or author's name or names, followed by the year. You separate these things with a comma, and they're contained within parentheses. And then at the end of the parentheses, outside of them, is where you put any punctuation that belongs to the sentence that precedes it. Some examples of what these look like. With one author, you have one author's last name, a comma, and then the year. For two authors, you have two authors' last names connected with an ampersand and then a year. And for three or more authors, you'll have the first author's last name followed by et al., a period, a comma, and then the year. If you're using a direct quotation, you'll have to add some additional information to your in-text citation. That information is the page number or numbers. For a single page number, you'll put a P, a period, and then the page number. For multiple pages, you'll put PP, period, and then the page range. Here's what this would look like in actual citations. Again, we have our author's names, our year, and then our page or page range contained within the parentheses. Let's go ahead and move on to the reference list. In APA format, there's some specific requirements about what you need for your references list. The title of the page should be references when we're using APA. It should not be works cited, it should not be bibliography, it should not be sources, it should be references. And this should be centered on the page, and it should be written in the same font as the rest of the paper. Your citation should be written with a hanging indent. This means the first line is left aligned, and any additional lines have basically one tab, one indent space in front of them. Your citation should be double spaced, and there should be no blank spaces between these citations. Dealing with authors can be tricky with APA style, but there's some general rules for you to follow. If you have one author for a source, that's the only author that you're going to need to list. If you have between 2 and 20 authors, you should include the names of all the authors separated by commas with an ampersand between the second to last and the last authors. For sources with more than 20 authors, you'll list the first 19 authors, then you'll put an ellipsis, and then you'll place the final author's name. If you're dealing with a group or organization that is the author of a work, you'll treat this name of the group or organization the same way you would a person's name. Let's take a look at some examples. When we're citing journal articles, there's a general format to follow. You'll list the authors in the format given here. You'll use author last name, comma, first initial, period, space, second initial, period, space. You'll do this for all of the authors. You'll separate them with commas, and again, before the last author, you'll include that ampersand. The next piece of information you need is the year. This goes within parentheses and is followed by a period. You then put the title of the article, and you will only capitalize the first word or proper nouns in the title. Again, we follow this piece of information with a period. Next is the title of the journal. This is italicized, and all the important words will be capitalized. You'll then put a comma, and then you'll put some identifying information about the specifics of the journal. In italics, you'll put the volume number, and then out of italics, but inside parentheses, you'll include the issue number if one is provided. Again, you follow this information with a comma. You conclude the specific journal information with the pages. You do not have to put the P or the PP that you put in in-text citations in the references list citation. You simply list the number or numbers. You follow this with a period, and then you provide the digital object identifier, the DOI, or the URL for the source, again followed by a period. So here's what some journal article citations would look like. You'll see our sources are in alphabetical order. There's a hanging indent between the lines, and there's no additional spacing between our sources. All the different pieces of information are there in the correct order with the proper formatting, capitalization, and punctuation. Reports by organizations work in a similar way to journal articles, but there's fewer pieces of information that are required. You'll start with the name of the organization, then you'll follow that again by the year in parentheses. Then you'll include the title of the report in italics with only the first word or proper nouns capitalized. And then you'll provide the URL for where to access that report. An example of what that looks like is here. You'll see our organization name is capitalized because it's a proper noun. Our year is again within parentheses. Our report title is here in italics, and our URL for the report is here at the end. If a report was written by an individual and author for an organization, you'll want to give that author credit. To do that, we'll reorder the pieces of the organization written citation. We'll start with the author or authors' names like we did with the journal article. We'll put that year in parentheses. Again, the title of report in italics with only the first word or proper nouns capitalized. Then we'll put the organization name after the title of the report, and then we'll provide the URL. Here's an example of what that would look like. This is particularly useful when you're using the Mintel database because a lot of the documents provided there are reports. There are a number of other different citation styles and different resources that you may have to cite. So I'd like to direct your attention to some of the resources that we have available from the library that can help you create citations for these other materials. The library has style guides for the APA manual available. You can pick them up with curbside pickup, or you can contact a librarian for more information about how to get them. You can also refer to the Purdue OWL, which is the online writing lab. It's a website which contains a lot of details about how to create various citations in APA 7th edition style. And you can find it by just Googling Purdue OWL APA. The library has a subscription to RefWorks, which is a software that will manage your citations and organize them for you and will help format your citations. And as always, you can contact a librarian for more help, and we'll be happy to direct you to our resources or help work one-on-one with you for your citation needs.